Hello， 大家好，欢迎收听 Learning Chinese with Charlie 的 podcast 第一集。Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Learning Chinese with Charlie podcast. If you noticed, when I greeted you at the beginning, I didn't use a word that you're bound to learn when studying Chinese. That is, 你好. Of course, we do use 你好 often in everyday life, but it's a more formal way of saying hello. It's typically used in public settings, with strangers, or when a service staff member greets a customer. In our daily lives, when greeting friends or colleagues, we can simply say hello, which is the Chinese version of hello from English. Since we're speaking Chinese, and of course we naturally add a tone to these two syllables. So it's hello. Sometimes people also say hello. Instead of more casual tone shifting hello in English. When you might say hello, hello, however you like, depending on your mood. Speaking of tones in Chinese, this brings us to the theme of this episode. People often say that Chinese is a tonal language, while most other languages, especially European ones, don't have tones at all. My personal view differs from this common perception. I believe a more accurate way to put it is, every language has tones. Because when people speak, their tone and pitch naturally change based on their emotions, the context, and their intentions. The difference is that in Chinese, our emotions and intentions don't change the tones of Chinese characters. Simply put, every language has tonal variation, but when you're speaking Chinese, you're passive in this regard. You can't actively change the tones according to your preference, because doing so might change the meaning of what you're trying to say, leading to misunderstanding or confusion. Let me explain what I mean with some examples. Take the phrase I know in English, for instance. Depending on the tone, you can convey additional meanings that aren't directly contained in the words themselves. You can say, I know, with a rising tone, which sounds laid back or like a casual response. You can also say, I know, with a sharper falling tone, which sounds like you're emphasizing that you know something. Now, let's look at the phrase, you know. You can say, you know, with a natural tone, which sounds casual, just expressing a concept that you think the other person should already be aware of. Or you can say, you know, with a rising tone, which sounds more like a question, asking if the person actually knows what you're referring to. Of course, in English and other languages as well, I believe there are plenty of situations where changing the tone of a word can alter the speaker's intent. I won't go through each example, as this pattern is quite common across languages. Overall, what I wanted to convey is that when you start learning Chinese, do not convince yourself that you have no concept of tones. In fact, when you speak your own language every day, you're constantly using different tones, even if you're not consciously aware of it. So, if you stop telling yourself that you have no knowledge of tones, I believe this realization can boost your confidence as a beginner in learning Chinese. So, my advice to everyone is to stay confident and not being intimidated by Chinese tones. Listen more, repeat often. And once the fixed tone of a Chinese word firmly stay in your mind, go ahead and speak with confidence. That wraps up the content for the first episode of my podcast. What I wanted to share with you is that instead of thinking only Chinese has tones, it's more accurate to say that every language has tones. It's just that in Chinese, the tones are fixed. Understanding this concept can help you confidently embark on your journey to learning Chinese. If you'd like to learn more about Chinese language, follow me and I will see you in the next episode. 再见，拜拜。